From 1980, we look at Herbie Goes Bananas. Now, we watched the other Herbie movies, which was The Love Bug, Herbie Rides Again, and Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. And we really liked The Love Bug. And you liked Herbie Rides Again.
Yes.
I thought it was okay. And we both kind of liked Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. And I had looked back at the, I had said that, Herbie Rides Again scored the highest. Now that was with critics, and what I didn't know is that there were 5 critics scores there. So it really wasn't that good. The audience scores weren't very good for it. The Love Bug actually scores the highest of them. But I thought that Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo was a little bit of fun, and it kind of went back to the formula that the Love Bug had. This one goes in a very, very different direction, Herbie Goes Bananas. What did you think?
I did not really like this one. I thought that I would take it for the Herbie movies at first, and I did not like it, so I said, okay, maybe it's just it being a Herbie movie. So I tried thinking of it like it wasn't a Herbie movie, and I still did not like it. I don't know what it was, but I think maybe there were too many characters, or I don't know, like main characters.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You said something, and this is the first time I thought about it, it being a Herbie movie or not a Herbie movie. The formula was very different, and the film starts out very different. But the thing that might have been the issue was the little boy. Paco became the main character of this instead of Herbie, and I think that might have been the problem. And something you said made me think of that. But anyway, the setup of this one is a little different. Jim Douglas is only a referenced character in this one, and so he has given Herbie to his nephew Pete. And Pete and his buddy DJ, they have to go down to Mexico to pick Herbie up, right? Is it Mexico he's in?
Yes,
I think it's Mexico. So. It's someplace where they have to take a boat to go get him, and they have to put him on a boat to get him someplace else. So they go down to retrieve Herbie, and in the process, they meet up with this little, I guess we'd call him a street urchin back in those days, but it's this kid who's on the streets. His name is Paco, and he's a pickpocket. So he robs DJ, takes DJ's wallet, so they can't pay for Herbie, and they got to go find Paco. In the meantime, Paco has also stolen somebody else's wallet. And that's the villains of the piece, played by Richard Jackal and Alex Rocco. And there's another villain who's the head villain, Charles Vernon, I think, was the actor. So that's the trio of villains here, and they're trying to steal some Incan treasure, and they've got like a piece of some film of this Incan treasure in their wallet, and when Paco steals it, he gets that, and they need it. So this is how the two storylines are going to intertwine again. The good guys and the villains, and the good guys, of course, are with Herbie. Eventually, Pete and DJ track down Paco. They get the money. They pay for to get Herbie out of the salvage yard where he's being kept, or the garage, and they get him put on a boat. Well, what they don't know is Herbie has allowed Paco to hide inside his trunk because Paco's being chased by the villains.
Right.
And so when Herbie gets loaded on the boat, Paco goes with him. And then we get on the boat. And on the boat is Cloris Leachman as Aunt Louise, and then she's got a niece, Melissa, I think is the character's name. And Melissa and Pete become love interests, and DJ's trying to fool Aunt Louise into helping them fund their racing, because they're going to take Herbie down to Brazil to race him, and they need money because Herbie decimates the cargo hold trying to get away with Paco at one point. And so the ship's captain, does this sound confusing? Because let me tell you, trying to do a synopsis of this is a nightmare. Harvey Korman is the captain of the boat. He plays Captain Blythe, which is not a coincidence that it's very close to Captain Bligh, who is that evil captain supposedly in literature. And he's he's chewing the scenery. He's doing a Carol Burnett sketch while everybody else is in the movie. And he gets fed up with Herbie. He finds Pete and DJ. They have to come up with the money. Aunt Louise pays for it. Then Herbie does more damage, and Captain Blythe makes Herbie walk the plank. Yes, Herbie walks the plank. They flip Herbie upside down, tip him up on a board, and throw him in the water, and Herbie's gone into the sea. Right? Yeah. And then we find Herbie later. Paco stumbles across Herbie while he's fishing, and Herbie's all. You know what? I can't even go on with the synopsis. So part of the problem, I think, was that Paco became the main character here. and we sort of ignored Herbie, right?
Yeah. I think that it focused, when you said that, it's actually true, because it wasn't all of the main characters. Paco was the one he was like a troublemaker, but in this case he was extra annoying.
He was a little annoying, yeah. This is the one too where he calls Herbie Ocho, which means 8 in Spanish, and that's that's the piece of the whole movie. We were watching this whole movie, and the only thing I remembered about it was the explanation of why he called him Ocho. Because Charles Martin Smith plays DJ, and at the end of the movie, he asks Paco, he says, "Why do you call him Ocho? Ocho is 8." And he's like, 5 and 3 is 8, because Herbie's number is 53. That was the only thing I remembered about this movie, having seen it when I was a kid. And I do remember going to the theater to see this one, and this is the Herbie movie I remembered the most, and that's what I remembered. But yeah, this one didn't age well, and I don't know that it was that good probably when it was out.
I did not like it. I thought that Paco being the main character kind of I did not like it. I think that he was too much of a troublemaker, and while like the grandma in Herbie Rides Again was funny,
Right.
and Hawk was funny, and the villains were funny. But Paco, even though he's not like a villain, he's kind of like...
He wasn't as charming as Tennessee,
Right.
He was troublesome. And when it started out, I thought it was kind of an interesting dynamic. Charles Martin Smith, like I said, played DJ, and he was a good character. And he and Pete had a kind of a good chemistry.
Yeah,
and the younger thing going on. And Pete was going to race. DJ was the mechanic, and Pete was going to race the car. And I thought, okay, this could be okay. They never raced the car.
Yeah.
They kept talking about going to a race, and at the end of the movie, because Herbie drives better for Paco, who's what, 10? Right?
Not even.
They dress him. Paco comes out and he's in a racing driver's uniform, and he gets in Herbie, like in Herbie's in the stateroom of the cruise ship at this point, and he's it's insinuated that he's going to be the one that drives Herbie, which that's not going to happen. But it started out okay when they were chasing around the streets and they were trying to catch up with Paco.
Yes,
I thought it was going to be
like
all right, and then it took a severe left turn, no pun intended, and just I don't know, it completely derailed. Herbie was not the main point of interest in the film. And the racing was completely abandoned. And while they abandoned the racing in Herbie Rides Again, Herbie still initiated all of the action that was going on and created a lot of humor.
Yeah.
And the humor here was very efforted. I mean,
I didn't even think it was...
it wasn't that funny.
No.
And Cloris Leachman and Harvey Korman were in a different movie. They were in a whole different movie doing their thing. And their shtick is their shtick, but... I don't know. And she got top billing in the film, and he was way down, but I don't know. I just, I like Harvey Korman. I think he was a very funny comedian, but wow, everybody, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that when they were chasing Paco around, when Pete and DJ were chasing Paco around, I thought that it was going to be fine, and I think that maybe Paco would have been there, and then maybe he would have came in at the end, but he wouldn't have been like seen throughout the movie, or maybe like just little scenes like him being somewhere,
right?
Like so it could be funny, but he was in the entire movie, and I thought he was annoying. I really did.
And that points out an interesting thing, and we'll talk about it real briefly, and then I'll ask you what your take is. But science fiction films did this for a while too. Star Wars came out, the original Star Wars, and there were no kids in that movie, right? And when Battlestar Galactica came out, they put a kid in there. And when Star Trek The Next Generation came out, they put a kid in there. And all these different franchises, they felt they had to have a kid in the movie so kids could find somebody to relate to. I never had that problem as a kid. When I watched the original Star Wars, I identified with Han Solo, because when you're a kid, all you think about is being a grown-up, at least in my experience.
Yes.
Is that your...
I want to be a grown-up.
Right? So when they put the other Herbie movies didn't have a kid in them. They stuck a kid in here so you would have somebody to identify with, and I actually think that sort of corrupts the storyline unless the kid has a purpose, right?
So I did not identify with him.
And that was a mistake a lot of franchises made. through the years, TV series and everything else. They felt they had to put a kid in there so kids would have somebody to identify with. But you're forgetting, kids use their imagination and they look up to the characters and they want to grow up to be a character. You don't want to grow up to be a kid. Right? So, in any case, all right, last take.
I think I'm gonna say skip it.
Yeah, I'm not even going to think. I'm going to say skip it. This one wasn't. Well, the other ones were not Shakespeare. At least they were entertaining in some way. This one just got real to the point where it was. I didn't want to pay attention. Okay, well, there's one more. It's at least of the cinema releases, and it's called Herbie Fully Loaded, which came out I think in 2005 with Lindsay Lohan. I did see this one when it came out, and we'll see what you think. All right, all right. So we're coming back fully loaded.